heartbreak for me happened last month. My wife and I lost our daughter at 39 weeks and 5 days, 2 days before delivery. And then on the hour my daughter was supposed to be born, my grandmother died. I mean, I was just like,
Overwhelmed.
God, why? Why did you take them both? Typically I would call my grandmother. We would talk often, and I would tell her, like, hey, this is what happened. But she wasn't there to talk to.
Mm.
And so I would make the comment, well, now she's holding my daughter. And every time
Wow.
I would make that comment, I would just break up in tears. Like, yo, I'm holding my kid. That's not breathing. It's a very faith altering, life changing events that have taken place. And it really messes with your faith. Weeks I've been kind of crawling back to him slowly but surely, kind of fragmented still.
Yeah.
Heart kind of in pieces, picking up one piece after the next. Even while my wife was on the operating table, we were kind of joking around and being joyful, but we could feel the presence. Like we knew somebody was praying because we weren't like distraught or crying in that moment. So it was nice to feel the prayers and know that God was in the room with us.
Yeah.
Just there standing watch.
Welcome back with another episode of OE Talks. My name is Deena Taylor, and I am your host. And today we're talking about healing from heartbreak. It's going to be good, y'all. I know it. But before we get started, let's introduce our friends.
How y'all doing? Charon here.
I'm Victoria.
I'm Deene.
I'm Damien.
So, y'all, I've been thinking about this word heartbreak. And I've used it time and time again, right? Especially when it comes to relationships and all of that. But how would you define heartbreak?
Defining heartbreak. I feel like heartbreak is like that feeling when everything happens exactly the opposite of what you were expecting.
Disappointment.
Well, I looked up the word heartbreak because I'm a nerd like that, and I believe it means overwhelming distress. I looked up the word distress, and it means extreme sorrow, anxiety, or pain.
Wow.
I took my answer. I did not look it up, but I was trying to remember my own heartbreak and how I felt, and it's like the deepest pain you can experience.
Yeah,
The deepest
Emotionally,
pain.
yeah, definitely. I would second that. Yeah,
So the deepest pain, not just any kind of pain, but
yeah. Because for me, heartbreak is like agonizing, not felt before, but very deep, heart wrenching
Right.
pain.
And I wouldn't confine heartbreak to just a relationship with your significant other either.
Right,
Like,
right.
you can be heartbroken in a lot of things.
Yep.
So has there ever been a time outside of a relationship where you've experienced extreme heartbreak?
Just last year, yes. I remember I left my position at one school to take a new position at a new school. I was going to move up. More money. I left something behind that I felt I was done with. And when I got to the new school, it was like I was told, we're not going to be able to move you up just yet. And I had already left my other school. Luckily, the same position at the new school, the same position I left was available at the new school. But it was a tough year. Like I was literally heartbroken, distraught, and honestly depressed for the first time in my life because something that I just knew I was done with and put behind me, I had to do it again. But since then, it's looking up. Next year, I got that job that I was expecting. So
Come
I'll
on.
be in a new school
That's what's up.
in that position. Can't wait.
That's what's up.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Rejection has caused heartbreak
Yeah.
in my life. Not even just like relationships, like dating relationships, but just rejection from friends, family members, things like that. Or people that you're really close to, that you can consider them to be family. Rejection is a deep. That's like a dagger into my heart. which then can resort to trauma and things like that. But that, and then like grief, like losing a loved one, losing both of my uncles a couple years apart from each other. My mom's brother and then my dad's brother, my favorite uncle Chip. That really crushed me too. So yeah.
Sorry to hear that. It's like when you're, I mean, I've experienced heartbreak, even in friendships, like you said.
Oh yeah.
When you expect people to, behave a certain way because they're your friend, and then you find out that they're talking behind your back, or they're just not behaving in a way that friends should behave. That's heartbreaking.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, it's real. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, heartbreak for me happened last month. My wife and I lost our daughter at 39 weeks and 5 days, 2 days before delivery. And then on the hour my daughter was supposed to be born, my grandmother died. So, yeah, that was very heartbreaking. Still is heartbreaking because you just don't understand why people pass on, especially in the method that it happens. And growing up with my grandmother, that's very heartbreaking indeed.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I appreciate that.
How do you deal with that? Like, how do you get through that?
How I've dealt with it is not much prayer. I know I'm a Christian, but I ain't want to hear nothing from God at that moment.
Yeah.
But and I was numb for a while. But people talking, like conversing with my wife through our loss, that helped out a lot. People pouring in comments and support, that helped out a lot. Journaling, that helped out a little bit too. And really just trying to like think through my thoughts, like just being honest with my thoughts and how I felt. That helped me. That's helping me walk through the process of losing both, and just talking with family members too. That helped out as well. Just receiving the encouragement. What doesn't help is saying the wrong things or doing the wrong things. I don't think, and I respect you if you're honest. If you say, I don't know what to say, I respect that. I appreciate that. That helps. So yeah.
Yeah, like it's the expectation that something's supposed to happen. Like
Right.
you're supposed to. Your wife has been carrying a baby,
Right.
and like you're expecting this beautiful child.
100%. And that was the biggest thing. I mean, just like you said, we were expecting it. I was at work when she called me and told me. And I was just like, I was speechless. I was like, what?
What were you thinking in that moment?
I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Are you for real? And on the way to the hospital, the doctor confirmed that, and I was like, nah, you tripping. Like, but it was a thing, and it did happen. And I was in disbelief. I just couldn't believe that was the case. And then when my grandmother turned around and passed away 2 days after that, I mean, I was just like,
Overwhelmed.
God, why? Why did you take them both? Typically I would call my grandmother. We would talk often, and I would tell her, like, hey, this is what happened. But she wasn't there to talk to. And so I would make the comment, well, now she's holding my daughter. And every time I would make that comment, I would just break up in tears. And then my wife had a vision, and Jesus was holding our daughter.
Oh,
wow.
You know what I'm saying? So that gave her comfort. It gives me comfort too, but I didn't see it. So does it help me? It does. But I would appreciate God reassuring me too. But when I was agonizing over the loss, just lying down on my bed, he would speak to me and say, she has work to do. And I'm like, what? So I'm still processing through,
Yeah.
hearing his voice and what is he saying about it. It's definitely been faith shaking for sure.
Yeah.
Because, being a worship leader and hearing songs about resurrection, and I'm like, well, why didn't you resurrect them?
Yeah.
So it's a very faith altering, life changing events that have taken place, and it really messes with your faith. But over the past few weeks, I've been kind of crawling back to him slowly but surely, kind of fragmented still.
Yeah.
Heart kind of in pieces, picking up one piece after the next. Or maybe he's picking it up and giving it back to me. That's kind of how I look at it too. So yeah, slowly coming back. But I don't think you'll ever be the same with
Yeah.
losing a child or losing a loved one,
Yeah.
especially someone that close to you. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What was her name?
Ashlyn Joy.
Ashlyn Joy. I love that y'all had a name for her too.
Oh yeah.
I think there was a movie or something, a video that I watched of a little boy that he actually went up to be with Jesus, and he came across his siblings that he didn't know about, and that's how his parents knew that he was with the Lord, because those were two miscarriages that his parents had before he was born, and they didn't have names.
Wow.
And so the parents said, "Hey, it's okay to name them even when they don't make it here with us. If they have a name in heaven with the Lord." And so it's
Yeah, my wife shared a story with me of someone who had two abortions, and the woman ended up getting saved, and she was in church one time, and God took her up into heaven, and two little kids ran up to her, and she didn't know who they were, and she remembered that she had an abortion, and those kids were actually grown up, like maybe 8 or 9 or 6 or
Wow.
something, and the kids said, "We're praying for you,"
wow.
or something of that nature. And so, to your point, like I have a friend of mine, she lost 9 kids before having her son and her daughter. Her and husband lost 9 kids. So, it's amazing to have little angels in heaven praying for you,
Yeah.
working on behalf of God. So that's encouraging,
Yeah.
as difficult as it is. But I'm like, I would rather them be on that side of heaven than this side of heaven.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So thank God. I mean, it's sad that my daughter passed, but she didn't have to breathe this life. She didn't have to live this life.
Right.
You know, experiencing pain and heartache. She's with her Creator.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I remember when I lost my grandfather, and when we were in college, and I was at school with some of y'all at that time. But I remember when it happened, how heartbroken I was. And one of my friends said to me, he was just telling me, he said, I know it's I know it's easy right now to feel selfish because you want them here with you, but where they are right now is so much better than anything we can even experience, that we've ever experienced here. So it was just reassuring.
Yeah.
It's hard to accept that though.
It is.
Like
Yeah.
because you want what you want, and like you want that person here with you,
Right.
and not somewhere where you can't talk to them right now. Like, there's peace in knowing that they're in a better place, free of pain and sorrow and all of that. But also, it's hard, the reality of not being able to communicate with them, not being able to like pick up the phone call or in your case, hold the child, and see the child live to, a full life here on earth. Like that's not an easy reality to accept.
Yeah.
And like, no matter if you've been walking with God for like 20 plus years, like that's not easy. And it shakes your faith. It really does. It really does.
When Ashlyn was delivered, I got the opportunity to hold her for a while, and that was surreal in itself. I was like, "Yo, I'm holding my kid that's not breathing," but that was comforting in that moment. And even while my wife was on the operating table, we were kind of joking around and being joyful, but we could feel the presence. Like we knew somebody was praying, because we weren't like distraught or crying in that moment. So it was nice to feel the prayers and know that God was in the room with us.
Yeah.
Just there standing watch, and just kind of comforting us in that moment. Because something like this, I never carried a child, so for any woman to carry a child and lose the child, I don't even want to know what type of emotional state that can put them in. You know what I'm saying? So having God bind up your broken heart and comfort you is so important and so necessary and so helpful. So it's important that people watch out for how they respond to women, because they don't know. People that ask questions, they don't know what they've dealt with.
Yeah.
So you gotta be real sensitive, because people lose kids, miscarriages, and stillborns and things like that is pretty common. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be very sensitive when it comes to asking certain questions and knowing how to converse with a person because you don't know the story.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, you said it's a process. You know, like dealing with that, like dealing with heartbreak and healing from heartbreak. Like it's possible for you to heal. There's no time limit on it. Like
There isn't.
we like to assign a time limit because it makes sense. Like, you know, we want to make sure that, okay, this tragic event happened in my life. In the next 3 months, 90 days, like, I should be fine. But, like, that's a process. It's day by day. And you walking with the Lord, truly.
Yeah, and the grief comes in waves, too. That's what I've heard, but it's the truth. But being able to sit in the, you know, emotion that comes from heartbreak, it's hard to sit in, but I think it's necessary to sit in it. So you know how to get through it and then how to walk someone through it.
Right. Right. Wow. Well,
Thanks for sharing that too.
yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
That's real. I commend you. Sorry if you hear growling.
And puppy paw
That's not a
prints.
person. That's our mascot, Mikey.
Come on, he's gonna force his way up here, so may as well let him up. Come on.
Have you ever felt like you've experienced, like, have you ever experienced heartbreak in any season you felt like it was impossible for you to get over it? What you experienced? Yeah?
Oh,
Yeah.
You're looking like, yeah. Yeah, this one was a relationship, though. And this person was, for transparency, my, like, first everything. And so I just knew we were, like, going to be married and all this stuff. And so when it just didn't work out that way, I remember I lived in Charlotte at the time, and I remember walking down the street like, Lord, what am I supposed to do? Like, how am I supposed to live? Who else is out there for me? Like, how is this a thing? And I recognize that I was ignorant, but I mean, I was vulnerable, and that was the first person I ever gave my heart to in that way. So I just didn't think I was ever gonna get over that. And then one day when I was over it, I looked back and was like, oh wow, it just kind of happened. I didn't say, okay, by this date I'm gonna be over it, or this is how it's gonna happen. I just recognized, like, I'm good and I'm okay. Like, I have at this point no regrets. I did for a while, but at this point, like, no regrets. I'm content. I wish that individual the best. Like, I'm happy, and I'm becoming whole, so to speak. I'm not gonna say I'm completely whole as a person. That's a lie. But yeah, it's interesting to look back on. It kind of makes me want to laugh. Not like to criticize myself, but like, wow, that was a thing, and I really thought I wasn't gonna make it through it. Like, I don't even remember at what point was I fine, but the Lord heard me though, and just allowed it to happen as it happened. And so then when I saw them again, and they were trying to, like, see if maybe we can get back together, I was like, no, actually, I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah, I was like, I'm. At the time, I was angry. I was like, I hate you, actually, but I'm past that too. But I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'm completely fine. And yeah.
That's wild though when you say that, because literally every hurdle we've ever faced, we made it over.
Yeah.
In the moment, you don't realize it, but if you think right now to the last time you were in sorrow, crying, like heartbroken, didn't know how you're gonna move forward, you literally jumped over that barrier.
Yeah.
It's behind you now. And then the next one that's gonna come, you're gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to
The
say
next
that
one.
To project it.
Kind of hard to
Oh,
say that to
geez.
yourself in the moment, but
Yeah.
it's the truth.
It's hard to see it for sure.
Yeah.
Heartbreak is a part of life. As much as we want to run from it, like, it's just a part of this thing called life. But there's always we have a relationship with the Prince of Peace, Jesus. He gives us peace that surpasses all understanding. Where you should be, like, I don't know, like, expressing how you feel on drugs or drinking your life away or whatever, like, he can give you comfort and hope, really. Only he can do that. And he'll send people, whether that's through a church community or just friends or family or Ice cream.
TV shows, binge watching.
TV shows, something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Vicariously through shows.
or whatever. Like he can use anything just to bring healing in your life. But yeah, it's a process.